Good evening. Welcome to part 5 of our 6-part review series on Taharas Hamishpacha. We look forward to another evening of delightful halacha with Mrs. Sarah Morozov. But first, Mrs. Rezi Shmueli will introduce and begin the evening. We'd like to ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones. No recording of the session. Recordings are made by us, and each session will be posted online on mikvah.org as soon as technologically possible. Please be patient with us. Please understand that each session needs to be reviewed by the Rav, needs to be reviewed by the speaker, and changes need to be made to each session, technically speaking, before they can be uploaded for the public on mikvah.org. We do notify you via email, and if you need any further information, feel free to email us at events@mikvah.org. Good evening. Mrs. Rezi Shmueli.
Thank you, Rabashkin. We thank you once again for opening up your home to us. Thank you. And we thank again all the participating organizations that helped put this event together. I wish to remind you again that we do need donations. Anything that you give is used well, and it's very needed. Thank you. I'd like to focus on the third bracha that's said under the marriage canopy, under the chuppah. And the terminology there in the third bracha says, part of it, V'hiskin loy mimenu binyan adei ad. That Hashem prepares for man, from himself, mimenu, from himself, an edifice that is everlasting. Normally, people translate that as an everlasting edifice, children, grandchildren, and for all generations to come. But in reality, there's a much deeper meaning to that. That is not dependent on children. That is not dependent on our menstrual cycle. That means even after menopause, there is an everlasting edifice. What is that? To whom is the terminology everlasting attributed to? Only to Hashem. Only Hashem is everlasting. And what we do through marriage is we have a binyan, a marriage, an edifice, that can reach into adei ad, that can reach into and tap the Rabbeinu Shalom himself. That's what marriage does. We're able to reach Hashem and bring him down. And that exists all through marriage. That's our life. And by following the laws of Taharas Hamishpacha, all the halachas, we create a special home. It is a home that has Hashem, Shalom Bayis, and a special relationship that is between the husband and wife. That is marriage. It reaches into, again, adei ad, to Rabbeinu Shalom himself, and that is the binyan that we're looking for. And to help us to continue in this growth, I introduce Mrs. Sarah Morozov to continue her instruction to us. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. And I'm very excited tonight because we're finally going to the mikvah. If you remember, 3 weeks ago, we became nida. 2 weeks ago, we did a hefsek Tara. Obviously, we had to do our count all over, and we have to wait an entire week. And Baruch Hashem, tonight we have something nice to look forward to, so that's why we're all smiling. Okay, just as a little introduction to the concept of Chafifa, Chatzitzah, and Tefillah. In the end of the Mishnah, in Yuma it says, Amar Rabbi Akiva says, Ashreichem Yisrael lakiyar Yidin, lifnei mi atem mitarim, before who do you purify yourselves? Umi mitaher eschem, and who is purifying you? Avichem shebashamayim, your Father in heaven. That we are so lucky that before who are we purifying ourselves? For the Eibishter himself, our Father in heaven. And who is purifying us? The Eibishter, Avichem shebashamayim. And the Rebbe asks a question. Is it that we are purifying ourselves? Or is it Hashem is purifying us? Which one is it? And the answer is it's a combination of both. Because when the 7 days of preparation, the 7 days that we do bedikas every day, those 7 spotless consecutive clean days, we are doing our own avodah, we are putting effort, we're putting our energy into whatever we could do with our own human efforts. 7 is symbolic of the way of nature. Hashem created the world in 7 days. So we are putting whatever effort we can as human beings towards our connection to the Eibishter. When we toivel, which is the night of the 8th day, number 8 is symbolic of higher than nature. So when we toivel in the mikvah, Hashem rewards us with tahara that's beyond our efforts, beyond the human reach. But in order for that to happen, what's the step in between? How do we transition from 7 to 8? That's tevilah. Tevilah, when we immerse ourselves in the mikvah, when we're totally submerged under the mikvah waters, we lose ourselves. There's no ego. We're not there. All there is water. That means in Hebrew, tevilah has the same root as bittul. Tevilah is immersion, and bittul is total subservience or nullification in the presence of Hashem himself. So when we toivel, when we totally commit ourselves to the Eibishter, when we say, Eibishter, I'm all yours. Well, how does Hashem reward us? By giving us that level of tahara that's beyond human reach. And we should appreciate that gift. Like the Rambam says, when a Yid tovels, when a Yid immerses in a mikvah, not only does his physical body achieve purity, but also his nefesh, he has the opportunity to elevate his soul to a higher level of purity. When Hashem created the world was surrounded with water, was submerged under water. And then creation began. At the flood, at the Mabul, Hashem totally submerged the world in water once more because we needed a new world, a fresh start. So a fetus also is surrounded in water, and when that fetus emerges from the water, a new human being is born. So too, when we come out of that mikvah water, it's symbolic of a new start, a fresh start, a new beginning, and we're a new person. And therefore, just like that fetus emerges out of water without any Chatzitzah, when we come out of that water, we are in our birthday suit, totally Chatzitzah free. There's nothing that intervenes between our water and between our body and the mikvah water. Now, some of us have been keeping this mitzvah for many months and many years, and sometimes it's very important, obviously, to take care of all the details that halachically we fulfill our obligation. But sometimes it could become like a normal, every day it could lose its specialness. So there are different ways, these were different ideas that perhaps just as we look forward, as we do our bedikas during the 7 days preceding our immersion, we could also maybe every day or towards the mikvah experience just stop a moment and think of the larger picture of what's going on so we could connect to the Eibishter in a very real way through tevilah. Or even as we do our Chafifa, as we clean ourselves completely, we're not just a body. We could meditate on the fact that every limb, every part of us, every part of our body is a conduit for divine energy, is used as a channel to bring more godliness into this world through a mitzvah. Or how every part of our body is used for shalom bayis, with our eyes, the way we look with kindness, with our mouth, the words that we speak, with our hands, with our action. And that way we can appreciate, as we do our physical preparation for the mikvah, we're also preparing emotionally for the shalom bayis and the mitzvah that follows. And also we are using it as an opportunity to connect to the Eibishter in a very real way. So now we'll begin with the practical aspects of mikvah preparation. Last week we discussed when we need to prepare for mikvah. And we could review, that's 2 weeks ago, that's the last lesson. So you could review that if you have to prepare on a regular weekday, if it's a Friday night, if it's a Motzei Shabbos or a Yom Tov. So that we discussed last time. Today we're going to discuss how we prepare for mikvah. Now mikvah preparation does not begin the day that we're going to the mikvah that night. As we discussed last time, hair removal should be done earlier. That means a haircut, and I may say possibly even a sheitel cut. I came home today into the house and I was looking around and my pantyhose was full of hair. And I was thinking, I know I have people in my house that shed hair, but the size and the color. And I said, what's going on here? My skirt was full of hair and I realized I had walked into a sheitel macher's place and I sat down for a while. And I realized, hey, if it was my mikvah night, there would be lots of hair all over the place extra that I don't need. So haircut of the head is what we avoid. I'm not telling you should avoid going to the sheitel macher. I'm just saying to practice caution when it comes. I saw that was not even hair of my own haircut and it was all over the place. All the more so we see how hair from the head could really make it difficult to remove, not just because it sticks to our body, but you could also have pieces of hair in the rest of the hair that's left in your head. Other hair removal, ideally it's best even to shave not on the mikvah day, according to some rabbanim, because it is difficult to remove the little pieces of hair. But it definitely, if a woman needs to shave the day of mikvah, it's definitely okay. You just make sure to clean those parts very well. And also when you shave, be gentle, because the nicks or the cuts that women make sometimes when they're in a rush and rough may also be something that you have to be careful with, that you have to make sure that the blood is cleaned properly if you do have a cut. If a woman did not, so that's as far as hair removal. We also said waxing is not done the day of mikvah. It's done before. If you have dandruff in your hair, not just regular dandruff, but you suffer from a skin condition that you have flakes or large pieces of dried skin shedding from your scalp, and you know that when you use those special shampoos that you were told to use, it really makes the skin condition heal properly. So again, you know you're going to the mikvah, you have at least 12 days notice. So a smart woman will plan this in advance and make sure that she uses the proper treatment on her skin, so that when the night of the mikvah arrives, she has much less shyness and she's able to perform her mitzvah with more ease and less tension, because some of these matters were already taken care of. Or if you know you have lice. Lice is a problem more in America than in other countries. I don't want to label any country. But if it's a problem, you have to remove the lice. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes effort. And, if it happened the day you go to the mikveh, you find out that you have lice, which, by the way, if any of the people listening here is a mother of a kala, or of a future kala, or a sister of one, we were told that 3 days before the wedding, she should have her hair checked for lice. There are some sheitlach that do carry lice and they pass it on. And it's a really nightmare when a kala finds out the day of her wedding at the hairdresser's place. And this has happened recently more than once, so just a little tip. Also, you have advance notice that you're going to the mikvah. So if you have stitches, some types of stitches are a problem when it comes to tefillah. You have to get in touch with your Rav in advance. And I'll give you other lists. If you have a bandage that is not allowed to be removed, or if you have ears that water cannot enter your ears for medical reasons, if you have a cast, if you have any dental work, like a root canal work or temporary fillings, if you have a filling that hurts and things get stuck inside and is infected. If you have, or any situation with your teeth that's not regular, you should get in touch with your Rav in advance. So when mikveh night comes around, you know what needs to be done. Any hair dye is a shaila. You have to ask your Rav in advance how to go, if it's okay to toivel with this particular type of hair dye. And you can also confirm with the mikveh attendants, there are certain type of hair dyes that if they combine with chlorine in the mikveh, the water in the mikveh turns purple, red, green, or whatever. So just make sure that you have a good dye, not a cheap dye if you need to dye your hair. False nails and false eyelashes or nail extensions, you have to ask your Rav in advance if you may keep them on your nails, or the eyelashes, if they're starting to peel, if you're ready for the next treatment. These are questions that you must ask your Rav in advance, and it'll make it easier for you the night of mikvah. Some type of tanning lotions or quote unquote permanent makeup, also sometimes when they're put on for a few days they bleed. I don't mean bleed as in blood, but the skin absorbs some of it but releases part of it also as it adjusts. That also is something you have to ask your Rav in advance. And also any unusual skin conditions like a terrible sunburn or something like that, you ask your Rav in advance. Of course, if you did not get to ask your Rav in advance and it is your mikveh night tonight, every mikveh has available a Rav on duty on call for that night. The mikveh attendant will be happy to help you get in touch with a Rav to help you out with your particular situation. We also discussed last week that the day you're going to the mikveh, you avoid a Chatzitzah, and that was discussed at length at last year. So that's in the days before the actual mikveh day. So today we're going to the mikveh. Where should we do our preparation? There's definitely a halachic advantage of doing all our preparations in the mikveh building itself, because there should be no interruption from the preparation to the actual immersion, so that no chatzitzah, no intervening substance, will be created during the interim interruption. However, it's also very important to know that a woman may not feel rushed during her preparation. And many mikvahs, especially we're coming towards the summertime, cannot accommodate, Baruch Hashem, the amount of women in their community that need to do their preparations there. And if you will feel rushed at the mikveh building, if you know you were number 20 in the waiting room and there's 20 women ahead of you or behind you, however it is, perhaps you should be doing more of your preparations at home, or perhaps most of your preparations at home, because it is so important that you should be able to do your preparations calmly. And if I believe that just like a woman needs a good, wonderful kitchen, a woman needs a beautiful bathroom. Because if you're doing your hefsek tahara in your bathroom, you're doing your bedikas in your bathroom, you're doing your chafifa, which is the preparatory cleansing in the bathroom, of course you should have good lighting, nice mirrors, gorgeous accessories. When you walk into that bathroom, you should feel, I'm a chaya, this is the most beautiful place to do the most beautiful mitzvah in my life. This is not halacha, please. This is just my personal opinion, okay? You also need the proper supplies. Now, if you are a newlywed and you just share with yourself and your husband, so if you don't know where the nail clip is, probably he knows where the nail clip is. But we know what happens when our homes get busier, and mommy needs the nail polish remover, and mommy needs the nail clip, and mommy needs the tweezers, and where's my tweezers, and where's my this, and where's my that. So if you want to do this mitzvah properly, you create your own Chafifa kit. May I say that mikvah.org has stunning mikvah kits available that you can buy and use, prepared for you. Look on the website. I was going to bring them here, but I forgot. Here they have a list. This is also, every woman needs to have this. From mikvah.org/small, it's called The Cycle of Sanctity, a mikvah observance checklist. This is a laminated card. Here it tells you what you need to have in order to prepare for mikvah. But on the other side, it has a wonderful list of how to prepare for mikvah. I think it's more than one language. Is that correct? Or just in English? I'm not sure. But check it out.
Just English.
Just English. Okay. So this is their list of what you should have in your kit. Also, if you're doing preparation, there are different mikvahs all around the world. Yes, mikvahs in large communities tend to have all these necessities in the mikvah itself. It's like full service. If you're going to a mikvah in a small community or in different countries, when you have to call in advance and ask what you're asked to bring along. One of my friends once went to a mikvah in a city in Eretz Yisrael, and it wasn't even a small city, and they had no toothbrushes. They said you're expected to brush your teeth before you come. Okay, so just a little. Okay, alcohol, baby shampoo without conditioners. We'll discuss this more when we discuss how we clean our hair. A back brush, bleach. You're not soaking in bleach, but bleach can help remove a stain or a little fungus from a nail with a dab, with a little Q-tip. That's it. A comb. When you get your comb, you should buy a comb that, first of all, that the teeth of the comb are close enough apart and far enough apart that they you get the knots out of your hair, but you don't pull hair out. People have different thinness and thicknesses of hair. Also, it's better if the tips of the teeth are not pointy, because you may then be scratching your scalp if you are one of those people that have sensitive scalps, or they have the skin that sheds from the scalp. For you especially, you should have a rounder tip, so it makes it easier for you to comb your hair properly and not cause extra skin to be shed from the scalp. Cotton balls, dental floss. If you're getting dental floss, you have to know your teeth. And if you don't know your teeth, get to know your teeth. The dental floss, if it gets caught in the teeth, that is for sure a Chatzitzah, and you cannot tovel that way. Some of us are able to floss our teeth with unwaxed dental floss, which is preferable. However, if you suspect or you know that unwaxed dental floss will get caught between your teeth, better use waxed dental floss. You can make sure, and that usually is the case, it does not leave any residue on your teeth. The wax usually does not shed, but there are different brands. You could try it out. If you're using, okay, we'll talk more about how to clean the teeth later. This is just what we're preparing. Makeup remover, splurge. Get the best kind, because when we want to remove our makeup, we want it to be done easy and quickly and totally. A nail brush, a nail file, nail polish remover. If you are a woman that wears a lot of nail polish on your fingers and on your toes, and especially if you tend to have cracks in your nails, pure acetone will do a better job than regular nail polish remover. So you may want to add that to your kit if that's something that you get stuck with. A nail clip and nail scissors. A pumice stone. That's a little stone that can remove dead skin from under your feet. I recommend, instead of that little pumice stone, because we are using mikvah, invest, it maybe costs $15 in that. It's called a pediclean. It's what they use in pedicure places. It's like this piece of wood with a red rough edge on both sides. So it's professional strength, and it'll take you much less time to remove any dead skin from under your feet. Do not get the one that's made in China. Spend the $15 from Canada, from Switzerland, or from wherever it is, but it doesn't pay to get the cheap one. And not the cheap of any of these items that I mentioned. You want to do the mitzvah the most beautiful way. You invest in the best equipment. Q-tips, not the sticks that poke your ears, and not the cotton that shreds, that leaves the fluff all over the place, but nice plush cotton that you could use as you need. Soap. If you are using a moisturizing soap, you have to be careful that type of soap that you use does not leave any film over your skin when you're done. So I cannot come here and tell you which soaps are good and which are not, because it really depends how dry or how oily your natural skin is. You could try this out before to make sure that the soap, the liquid soap or the bar soap that you use does not leave any film at all. Tissues, toothbrush, toothpaste, toothpicks, tweezers, washcloth, sponge, or loofah. Okay, now you're all set. Additional items to bring to the mikvah, and this again, it depends where you are: towel, robe, slippers, contact lens case, makeup, blow dryer, pair of colored underwear. So you have now your supplies. You also need warm water. A woman needs to wash herself with warm water and soap. And if there is a shortage of warm water, it happens sometimes that the boiler breaks down, even in a mikvah building. So the rest of your body, you can use less than warm water. But wherever you have hair, you must use very warm water, especially the hair of your head. Okay, so then you have to make the effort to create that very warm water or hot water to wash your hair. I just want to talk now about soaps and shampoo, also about shampoos. The shampoo you use should be one that does not leave any residue on the hair. It should not contain any oils, waxes, or butters. Wax would be listed as paraben in the ingredients. And I know Mrs. Feller a number of years ago did research in the Consumer Reports Agency, and they discovered that the following shampoos are the ones that they give the testers originally to make their hair totally back to the original. Then they add the dirt and they test different shampoos. And those were cheap baby shampoo, because the Johnsons recently added some ingredients that may leave some residue on the hair. Herbal Essence and Neutrogena anti-residue shampoo. Halachically, you don't have to use one of those. Any shampoo that does not have any oils or butters or waxes, and you know it does not leave any film on your hair, is halachically acceptable. A fragrance is also fine. Now, conditioners is debatable. If you can comb your hair and make it free of knots without conditioner, that's what you should be doing. If the only way you could get rid of your knots is by using a conditioner, you have to choose a conditioner that does not, some conditioners really leave something in your hair, and some of them they're even visible, little like white little pieces. So you have to try out on your hair in advance to see what kind of conditioner will help you take out your knots, but you have to rinse out your hair totally so that there's nothing that you could see or feel on your hair. If you have any question about this, you can consult your own Rav. When we talk about Chatzitzah removal, that means a Chatzitzah is an intervening substance between your skin and the water. I also want to just talk a little bit about emotional Chatzitzah removal as a preparation for mikvah. There are some women that suffer from anxiety. It's obsessive compulsive disorder. And the mikvah night becomes a nightmare. She washes herself again and again and questions herself afterwards. And then even after she toivelt, she may find a little speck somewhere that maybe she forgot or maybe just appeared. And that becomes a nightmare for the woman, her husband, the Rav, and the mikvah attendant. There is help available. The first thing you can try is mikvah.org, Baruch Hashem, posted their OCD mikvah preparation list, checklist that was created by a therapist that deals with this particular problem and approved by Rabbi Chaikin. So if you don't have internet, you can call 718-756-5700. I'm sure they'll help you find a way to have this checklist. And then you could go through that checklist with your college teacher or with another woman, maybe a mikvah attendant, somebody who's experienced, who can guide you how to be able to do this mitzvah b'simcha. And if that doesn't help, there are therapists that are trained to help women who suffer from OCD and mikvah. And I will tell you that if you get help, you will be free from all that anxiety, and you will actually look forward to your mikvah night. And when you come home from the mikvah, you'll be able to experience such a beautiful mitzvah with your husband with total simcha. You deserve it, your husband deserves it, and you'll get there with Hashem's help. Also, some women are more comfortable with a certain mikvah over the other, or a certain mikvah attendant over the other. So again, whatever will help you make your mitzvah more beautiful, prepare yourself properly and make it the best. Try to work around it. Try to make your mikvah experience, take away all those chatzitzahs, all those negative emotional aspects that may interfere with you doing your mitzvah b'simcha. Or there's a little issue between you and your husband. Not every disagreement can be resolved in a half a second, but some can. Take care of it before. And the ones that can't, learn how to let go and accept the moment for what it is. So you can really enjoy that entire mikvah experience and what follows after. We are collecting from the audience tips for Chatzitzah removal. We have women from around the world, and if you have a specific tip that helps remove a certain type of Chatzitzah, you can email it to events@mikvah.org and write in the heading Chatzitzah removal. This is different from questions that will come up. That's number one. Number two, this time we're doing something a little different. The questions from the audience in this room will be answered first, and the ones that are emailed will be answered whenever we can answer them. They will be answered. So feel free to ask your questions. I know some people were frustrated last time when we worked it a little differently. Number three, whoever is listening to this, last lesson we had the privilege that Rav was able to make clarifications on the spot. We don't have that privilege at the moment. So if there will be any additions or clarifications or corrections, or if you heard anything tonight that up until now you're doing differently, check with your own Rav, just to have that clarified, so you have, you know exactly what you need to do when it comes to your mitzvah preparations. A Chatzitzah is a substance that intervenes between your body and the water. Even if it's something small, even if it bothers you only sometimes, or even if it really doesn't bother you at all, but the majority of women are bothered by this substance on their body, even sometimes, it must be removed before tevilah. Now, even the parts of your body that will not be able to come in contact with the water itself, for example, when we tovel, we don't open our mouth, the water doesn't go inside. But because you could reach your teeth, okay, you must clean every part of your body that you can reach, even though technically the mikvah waters will not reach there. But something that you cannot reach, or the water cannot reach, it's part of your body or it's part of your skin, it's fine. Now, although technically a Chatzitzah is something of substance, if you have a stain on your skin, for example, pen mark, or carrot stain from peeling carrots, we're coming towards Pesach, and you forgot to have that box of plastic gloves, we do try as much as possible to remove any stain as well. If we cannot remove it despite our efforts, we may tovel with it. If it has a stain, it's not a substance. When it comes to hair removal, how much hair does a woman need to remove from their body before tevilah? This is very individual, and this is something you should really discuss with your Rav. There are those that say that hair technically is not a Chatzitzah, it's part of your body, unless you created it to bother you. Unless you proved or you showed that this bothers you by removing it, especially right before you go to mikvah. There are those that say, if let's say you go for your waxing once in 40 days, so it doesn't matter, whenever mikvah comes out, you go to the mikvah. As long as you keep waxing every 40 days, it's irrelevant as compared to I must wax right before I go to mikvah. But if you have already done this, then you created for yourself a situation that it may really have to be removed halachically before mikvah. And if you cannot do it for whatever technical reason, you must ask a Rav what to do, because you already showed that this bothers you in preparation for mikvah. Pardon?
Explain that, please.
Can I explain that? Anything that bothers a woman, even sometimes, even if it doesn't bother other women, you show that this bothers you and you have removed it before mikvah because you say, hey, I'm going to the mikvah, I must remove it before I go to the mikvah, then you may need to continue to do that until you speak to a Rav. But if you were never careful till now and you just happened to remove your hair whenever it was convenient for you, right? You may not need to remove that hair exactly because you're going to the mikveh tonight. And I suggest that you discuss this with your own Rav because there are variations and every woman is an individual. You know, some women enjoy self-grooming and they love it. And they love to treat themselves to a total hair removal, whatever it is, and it makes them feel good about going to mikvah. But other women, all the hair removal becomes a total nightmare. Like they wouldn't do it if they didn't have to go to the mikvah. They'd wait till they get around to it. And now with the deadlines, it creates a whole anxiety situation. So that's why it's very individual. Okay? You ask your Rav what's right for you and you follow his protocol. We're going to spend a lot of time discussing how we prepare for mikvah. But the truth is that the most important preparation before immersion, before tefillah, is inspecting your body. A woman is biblically required to inspect her body wherever she can see, she needs to look at. If she cannot see, she touches and feels every part of her body to make sure that there is no Chatzitzah. You could have taken 20 baths and 100 showers, but if you did not inspect your body in the process or afterwards, your tefillah won't be valid. The reason why we take the bath and the shower is because so that when it comes time to inspect our body, it will already be clean. For example, we have a mitzvah to search for chametz and remove chametz. If you cleaned your entire house for Pesach, but you did not do that mitzvah the way the halacha requires, do that inspection the night before Pesach and the burning in the morning, you didn't fulfill the halachic requirement. The reason we clean our house before that is so by the time the feather and the candle come around the room, basically the chametz is gone. Otherwise, we'd be impossible. So our bathing and showering is a preparation for the inspection. The inspection is an absolute must, and therefore, if there was any interruption between your inspection and the immersion and the tefillah, that means, for example, Friday, you did your mikvah preparations and you inspected your body to make sure it's clean, but there was an interruption. You had to light candles, you had to walk to the mikvah building. You must re-inspect your body once more, immediately prior to tefillah, right? This is very, very important to know. A woman is required to bathe in warm water. If medically this is not a possibility for her, or she has another situation where she cannot bathe, and she can ask her Rav if she can have a very thorough shower. But bathing is what we do as a preparation for mikvah, followed by a shower to rinse off any residue of soap, of hair, or whatever may have landed on our body during that preparation. Now, if you like to shower first and then bathe and then take a shower after, that's also fine. But there must be some time that we're actually sitting in a bath. And as women, we know when your dishes are, I don't know if everybody around here has dishwashers, but I don't know if you remember when you didn't have one. When you soak the dishes, so when you rinse them under the water, everything comes off much easier, and even little specks that you wouldn't even have known about. Whereas if you just wash the dishes under running water, it takes more effort till the dirt is loosened. So if you have scabs, or if you have splinters, or if you have anything else, after the soaking for a while, it'll definitely make the Chatzitzah removal much easier. I'll just tell you a little story. I'm allowed to say story. I have to choose quick stories because we have to do halacha, but I know a woman who told me this, that she actually knew that she could kind of get by with a shower instead of a bath. She never asked anybody. And she would come to the mikvah already when it's night, So she could just, as we learned last time, if you prepared at home, when you come to the mikvah, you just repeat a shower, you rinse, you recomb your hair, and inspect your body once more. So nobody asked her any questions. And at once, she went through a period of time that she was trying so hard to have a child. And it so happened that her mikvah night happened to be when her parents were leaving back overseas. They came for a visit. So she drove them to the airport. And then when she came back, she got a call that their flight was canceled and they're coming home. And she didn't want to do her mikveh preparations when her mother was around, because she knew she'd think, why at this time of day she's taking such a long shower. So she went to the mikveh, and it was early, it was before dark. So the woman asked her, the mikveh attendant asked her, did you bathe yet? And she said, no, don't talk to me about baths. So the mikveh attendant says, why? Look, we have a gorgeous bath, it's all clean, it's shining. So she said, okay, fine, I never did it before, I'll just do it. And she took a bath. And she had twin girls from that mikveh experience. That detail of doing it the proper way, not getting by with something that you can get by with, was a real source of bracha for her. I don't know. So how do we do our mikveh preparation? So actually, I took the checklist and I just added a few things inside, for clarification, because it's in a very practical order. It's really great. It's laminated, it's good for your bathroom. It's great. So first of all, you remove your jewelry, any dentures, that's like false teeth, anything that's removable. It says false eyelashes, false nails, and any Band-Aids. Band-Aid residue must be removed. Sometimes you have a blood test, you could take a shower, and you don't even realize there's still some of that goo left on the Band-Aid. What removes Band-Aid residue? Baby oil, sometimes it's not good enough. Nail polish remover, if it's really sticky, or eye makeup remover can help with the residue of the Band-Aid. Alcohol may do it as well. Makeup must be removed, especially the eye makeup. Okay, if you have eyeliner, it could get stuck sometimes in the little folds of the eyelid or underneath. Just keep taking that Q-tip and I was going to say swipe it. But don't be rough, just gently wipe again and again until the Q-tips come out clean. Okay, it may take a little time. And all the mascara like we discussed last time. Any skin lotions have to be removed. Nail polish needs to be removed. Again, you have to be very careful with the nail polish, also in the cracks. Take a Q-tip, dip it in pure acetone, and be especially careful in the corners and in the cracks of the toenails as well. You have to be even more careful if you have clear nail polish. It happened too many times that women have come back from the mikvah and noticed a sliver of clear nail polish that wasn't removed, and then they have to ask a shaila if they need to. It's okay. It's half a situation when you discover it just when you came home from the mikvah, and it's a double situation when you discover it only the next morning. So please be careful. I know a woman who used to travel like 2 hours mikvah each way, and she did not have a mikvah in her community. And once she came back from her 2-hour back and forth ride, and she noticed she had a sliver of clear nail polish on one of her nails, and she called the Rav, and the Rav told her she should really go back the next night and toivel again after the nail polish is removed. Please don't take this for yourself. You will ask your own Rav what your specific situation is. And she made a decision. She says there was 9 women in her community that use mikvah. And if God forbid this was what happened to someone else, would they wait for the next night? Would they travel 2 hours back and forth? And she decided she's building a mikvah in her garage. And that's what she did. I don't know if any of you, pardon?
Can you tell us if you add something to the list? Like from the card? I was thinking, if you added anything.
I don't know if I could do that. Okay, but I'll be in touch with you. I'll help you if you need. Okay, I'll give you my papers.
No, I'm saying like.
I know. No, I don't know because I'm not holding the card. Okay, but if you know what you could do, you could hold the card and you could see for yourself. Okay, really take it. Oh, well. Okay. I don't know if you do this anymore, but if you have a run in your pantyhose and you dab some clear nail polish to stop the run, or now it's throwaway generation and nobody even says pantyhose. But if you dab some clear nail polish on your leg, you know what removes it? Nail polish remover, not soap and water. That kind of from the shower falls down your leg, okay? So that's the nail polish. So we removed our makeup, we removed our nail polish, and now we're going to cut and file our nails. So let me tell you what we need to do. We cut our fingernails and toenails on the day you're going to the mikvah. That's the right way to do it. Yes, you can cut your finger and toenails on the same day, and you could cut them even if it's Rosh Chodesh or Thursday or the 9 days or Chol Hamoed. For the mitzvah of tefillah, we cut our nails the way we should. If, for whatever reason, you cannot cut your nails the day of the mikvah, the day before is also fine, if needed, if absolutely necessary. But earlier than that, you're going to have to refile your nails. If your nails happen to be short, for whatever reason, but they need to be filed if they weren't cut the day of mikvah or the day before. So we cut our nails. How short do we cut our nails? Not all the way down to your cuticles. You cut your nails, the part of the nail that's attached to the skin, you leave attached to the skin. The part of the nail that's detached from the skin, you cut, but you can leave a pen line's worth of white. That's the proper way to do it. If you cannot do it so much for whatever reason, halachically, you can also get by with cutting your nails as long as the nails do not extend higher than your finger. That means hold your finger in front of your eyes. If the nail extends higher than the skin, that part must be removed. With your toes, it's hard to hold your toes at eye level. But if the same rule applies, the nail should not extend higher than skin level, but there's a little difference when it comes to the toes. You know that if you're going to cut the edges of some of the large toenail, you have to know your toes, your toenails, you have to know your teeth, your toenails, you get very much in touch with your body. But if you know that you would get an ingrown toenail if you cut it that short, you know it has happened in the past, that's the shape of your toenail and your toe. So then you need to leave that little extra white in the corners. You know, you could cut it more straight instead of round so that you do not create a situation that you would have an ingrown toenail because you cut it all the way down, 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 down. Okay? So you'll figure out how short you can cut your toenails in the edges without creating an ingrown toenail situation. So your nails are cut. They are also filed, meaning you have to make sure the nail is smooth, you see? There's no nicks, there's no sharp edges. And also, you have to be careful. Sometimes if you start cutting the nail from one side and you continue a little more, there could be kind of a crack in the nail that you won't notice. It's like, you could have a little, do you know what I mean? So you have to make sure that they're smooth, that they're totally smooth. There's no cracks, there's no like halfway hanging nail or something. Okay? So they're cut. A ridge. Okay? They're cut and they're smooth, toenails as well, and there's no dirt behind the nails. So especially in the toenails, you have to be sure that the corners, the one that's near the skin, I'm saying a tool or instrument. I don't mean a hammer and a screwdriver, but you know, in the sometimes like the manicure sticks, you know, just something a little bit that you could get into the corners to make sure that there's no dirt behind the nails, and a nail brush, scrubbing the nails. I should have brought my show and tell over here, but I don't know, I wasn't so brave. And okay, so you have those nails clean. Now the skin that hangs around your nails, okay? Usually after you bathe, you have more of those little pieces of skin hanging out. When must this be removed? Which means you will take a nail scissor and gently snip it off. Don't rip it. Don't make yourself bleed. You would take a nail scissor, a sharp one, a good one. Give a little snip. When do you must cut those off? If they bother you, that means you're the type of woman that gets bothered by having pieces of skin hanging around her nails. Then you must remove it if you're that type. Or if they hurt, if it's a kind of a little piece of nail that's hanging out, or the skin, if you move it, it will hurt you. That means you will notice it bothers you. You need to snip it off. Or if it's large enough that it's already a flap, that means the water cannot get underneath, but if you would flap the skin over, then you should gently snip it off. Okay? But all the other little pieces that don't bother you, you wouldn't care about, they don't hurt you, just leave them alone. Your teeth. Do you remember how the dentist taught you how to brush your teeth when you were what age? Maybe your mother did. You need to clean your teeth very well. So first of all, you have to clean between your teeth. I do not recommend using toothpicks, or especially the special toothpicks that are made to clean between your teeth, because they chip and yet you can have little pieces of splinters of wood caught between your teeth. If you use those plastic toothpicks, that could be fine for you, except many of them, the little piece of dental floss that's on top, it's so cheap, it shreds very easily. Don't use it. There is one company, Dentec. It's more expensive, but it's called Dentec silk flossers, and that piece of dental floss on the top doesn't shred, it's thick, and if that's the type that you want to use. Dental floss should be used, like we mentioned before. If unwaxed will get caught between your teeth, then the waxed one is okay. Also, if you have narrow teeth, you don't have to go up and down. You could go down, remove the dirt, and just pull it out. So you have half the chance, not double the chance of getting it caught. Okay, but dental floss between your teeth is a Chatzitzah. You cannot table that way. So you floss between your teeth. You brush very well, the front, the back, the top, like the grooves from the top and the bottom. And then you rinse your mouth very well to make sure there's no particles of food or maybe blood from your bleeding gums because you weren't careful with flossing your teeth the way you're supposed to, and your gums, are more sensitive. And you rinse your mouth very well. Those of you that tongue brush, you include it in your routine of mikvah preparation. If you have braces, okay, or any dental implants that cannot be removed, behind the teeth or in front of the teeth, you have to practice extra care to make sure that there's no food particles or any dirt in those braces or behind or in between. You have to take extra time and extra care because there are more places where dirt can get stuck. So that's the beginning of the preparation. And now we'll take a bath. Now you could do it in a different order, but this is the order that we chose for tonight. So bathe with warm water. Use soap. Use a washcloth. That means you're scrubbing. You're not. Be gentle, please. Okay. But when I say scrubbing, I mean a gentle scrubbing of your skin everywhere on your body. We'll soon get back to the skin, but as you're washing, there's certain places of your body that halachically you must pay a little bit more attention to. I'm going to give you 2 lists, and those lists are also when we said if a woman did her preparations earlier in the day, we said she must repeat a thorough shower once she gets to the mikvah, or if Erev Shabbos you took your bath, so after Shabbos you have to repeat a thorough shower. It means paying attention to these places in your body. You have to repeat and clean them once more. And what are they? Okay, besides, of course, we already did your mouth. If you did an earlier preparation, you would have to brush your teeth or rinse your mouth again. Your nose, okay? Which part of the nose must be clean? The wide part of the nose, okay? You could use a Q-tip. You could use a washcloth with your pinky. Only this wide part. You don't stick a Q-tip up to your brains. Just very gently, okay? Now, later on, after you finish your preparations, because you were in a moist, damp shower, you may have more mucus in the wide part of your nose. So you'll blow your nose again just to make sure it's clean once more, and you can look in the mirror just to make sure. You'll be me at the end, like the whole thing at once, okay? Thank you, audience, for the wonderful Chatzitzah tips that are being sent right over. We really appreciate it. As a group of women, we're here to help each other. Avos Yisrael brings Mashiach. Okay. Your ears. You must clean your ears. I cannot tell you to use a Q-tip in your ear canal. I once had a audiologist as a kala, and boy, did I learn something in life. You need to clean in your ear canal the way you normally would, minimum where your pinky would reach inside that ear canal. Then you take your Q-tips or whatever, and all the cartilage, all the bumps and the folds behind the ear and in front of the ear, you clean gently. You make sure they're clean. And then your earring hole. You dip the stud of your earring in peroxide or alcohol and put it in and out to make sure there's no residue or anything stuck in that earring hole. So that's your ears. Your navel, that's your belly button. Again, pinky or with a Q-tip, be gentle. Between your toes, you separate your toes and you clean between your toes. If you have athlete's foot or fungus and your skin is peeling, ask a Rav what to do with that. Because if you keep peeling the skin, you'll end up perhaps injuring yourself. We don't injure ourselves in order to taivel. Discuss that with your Rav. And of course, all the holes and the folds in your genital area, wherever toilet paper would reach. Okay, so separate the folds of your lips, and again, anywhere else where toilet paper would reach. If you're taking a bath, that is sufficient. Whatever water enters your vagina would be fine. Again, if you had special creams that you had inserted, or you have the IUD and the string is hanging, then you should make sure there's no crust or residue of any cream inside your vagina. But other than that, a regular woman sitting in a bath and wherever toilet paper would reach is sufficient. What I gave you now is the list, what's called in halacha, base hastarim, which are the holes of your body. Then I'm giving you another list, which are the folds of your body, where your body folds. You have to separate those folds and wash. And what are those? Under your chin.
Eyes.
We're going to get to the eyes in a moment. There's not a hole and there's not a fold, and we're going to get to the eye when we talk about the rest of our body. But thank you. You really are on target. Under the chin, lift your chin. Under your breasts, lift them, make sure, underneath you wash. And the nipple area, make sure there's no residue of any dried milk. Under your arms, okay, no film of any deodorant that's left. The folds of your elbows, your knees, between your thighs, separate your legs between your thighs, and any folds from fat, triple chin, and wrinkles, okay? So that's the list of when you need to repeat a thorough shower. You're not just standing in the shower and spritzing water. Lift your chin, lift your breast, lift your arms, separate your legs, and then you'll be all clean, okay? Now the rest of your body. The face, right? Your eyes. Besides the total eye makeup remover, you must make sure that there's no discharge in the corner of your eyes, okay? They should be clean. Okay, just clean your eyes of any discharge. This is a side note, this is not halacha. If you have a slight eye infection and you want to toivel, or for another slight infection for that matter, I think it's only proper that you wouldn't want the woman behind you to catch it. So you may speak with a mikvah attendant. Maybe you should be the last one to toivel that night, and after that they wash the mikvah, or if it's a chlorinated mikvah, that might be helpful. But please pay attention that if you're carrying any infection that somebody else can catch, please be mindful of the women that are behind you. Wherever you have skin, okay, dried blood has to be removed. Any sticky substance, any residue of anything needs to be removed. So on a practical level, if somebody has blisters, do not pop blisters in order to go to the mikvah. Okay, leave the skin, leave it alone. If a blister already has popped, after you've soaked in the bath for a while, it's soft enough, you take a washcloth and you gently rub it so all the pus just dissolves, dead skin just disappears, and you just leave it alone. Scabs. If you soak in a bath, the scabs will soften. Now I know it says in the book you shouldn't scrape off the scabs. It sounds like you take a chisel and you scrape. No, you don't make yourself bleed. If removing that scab causes bleeding, you've gone too far. So when you soak in a bath and as the scab softens, you will take something like a rough washcloth and you gently rub it over that scab. You will see that the dried blood will dissolve. The dried skin, the dead dry skin will rub right off. But when it starts to hurt, and that means the fresh skin is growing, you will need to leave it alone. Because if you remove new skin that's growing, you're injuring yourself. That's not what's required for tevilah. Sometimes you can have dried lips with scabs. So even though you're not soaking your lips in the bathtub, but sitting in the bath will moisten them. And if you're the type that has dried skin on your lips or on your hands, you know you're going to the mikveh tonight. So use moisturizer or Vaseline or whatever. I'm not marketing Vaseline over another lip cream. But moisturize your lips, moisturize your hands, so when it comes time for mikveh, it's already smooth and soft. And you don't have to worry about dried skin and things like that. But sometimes just check your lips as well to make sure that there's no scab. And if there is, just gently rub it off. Rub off the dried blood.
Your lipstick will look better too.
There you go. Splinters, okay? As you soak, you must remove a splinter that's even a little bit sticking out. But if that splinter is totally under your skin, leave it alone. Unless you're great at removing splinters. Because once you begin to kind of reveal the edge of that splinter, and once it's already uncovered, you're going to have to find a way to pull it out. Okay, there are ways. Warts that do not hang loose are not a Chatzitzah. But if you're planning to remove this wart tomorrow, or they hang loose, you have to ask a shaila what to do about that. Under your feet, women sometimes have dried skin. Now, that used to be the issue with the dried skin. Unfortunately now, with women walking around more barefoot, I say unfortunately because it's not really halachically the best way to do it, the mikveh attendants have complaints that the women are not being careful to clean under the soles of their feet. In the cracks, there could be dirt. So pay attention to clean the soles means under your feet, right? So to clean the soles of your feet properly, that means to make sure they're clean. And we make sure that the skin is soft. Now, if you already made it your routine, that as part of mikveh preparation, you remove the dead skin under your feet, that's what you need to do until a Rav tells you otherwise. Now, you don't have to remove it forever, and also you could start earlier in the week. You don't have to wait the night you go to the mikveh. But halachically, what is minimally required is that the skin, when it's wet, is soft, and the only thing that really needs to be removed is if there's any flap. That means there's so much dried skin that there's a flap of skin hanging out. That needs to be removed. Okay? Now the hair. Before we get to the hair of the head, wherever a woman has hair on her body, the hair has to be clean. That means no mascara, no dirt, no anything else. So it's clean. There's no knots and no loose hairs. You do not need to use a comb. You could use your fingers if it's your eyelashes, your eyebrows, wherever else, the pubic hair. Okay? With your fingers, you run through your hair to make sure there's no knots, they're clean, and no loose hairs. The hair of the head requires extra care. So we wash the hair with warm water. We use a proper shampoo. If you have very curly hair, you have to be really careful because a true Chatzitzah is if hairs are knotted in themselves and it bothers you, or most of your hair is knotted that way. And from the hairdressers we hear that the ones that have really curly hair, the more you comb it, the more it'll roll back in itself and cause those little knots to happen. So again, you're going to comb your hair. The best way to do it is when it's wet. Under the shower, you comb it, comb it, comb it, comb it. And once there's no more knots, you take that shower, you rinse off your hair so any loose hairs will come right off. Check that there's no loose hairs anywhere on your body, the front, the back, and everywhere else. And when you step out of that shower, just leave it alone. Do not take a towel and go, because more hair will become loose and will shed and it'll get more tangled. So when it's wet and it's not free and the hair is, and you have no loose hairs, then just leave it alone. When you come out of the shower, you could put a towel over your hair, or you put on the robe or whatever your mikvah provides, and you leave it alone. Because if you're going to comb your hair when you're out of the shower, okay, and if that's what you need to do for whatever reason, just put a towel over your back, a separate towel to catch all the loose hairs that are going to fall out of your head. Otherwise, they can land all over you, and they can land in places, in hidden places and folds, and when you inspect your body, you may find hair in places that you wouldn't dream of. Okay, so on a practical level, under the shower, it just works better. So we took our bath, we washed ourselves very carefully, we rinsed after the bathing. It's best to rinse yourself in a shower, so any loose hair, any residue of any soap or shampoo, you could rinse off everywhere. And once you're done, when you step out of the shower, step onto a clean surface, so the soles of your feet, right? Not under your feet, the soles of your feet don't pick up any dirt. You could step into slippers, you could step on a clean towel or bath mat, and you put on your robe or your towel. Do not dry yourself, because we retain our dampness and we go to the mikveh damp from our chafifa. Before we actually immerse, what do we need to do at this point? Good, inspect our body. Okay, now, obviously, practically, it's much easier to inspect the part of your body as you clean it. For example, if you clean your teeth, you have the dental floss, you have your toothbrush, check to make sure there's nothing anywhere, because if you're removing your nail polish, check very carefully to make sure the nail polish is removed, because if you have the item right in front of you, it's much easier to go back and touch up if you forgot something. So as you're doing your preparations, it's just more practical to inspect part by part as you're doing it. But once you're done, you stand in front of that mirror. Baruch Hashem, nowadays we do have mirrors. In the olden days, when mirrors weren't so accessible and glasses were only provided by people can afford it, so the mikvah attendant had more of a role of inspecting your body. But nowadays, because we do have glasses and we do have lighting and we do have mirrors, it is your responsibility to inspect yourself to make sure that you're totally clean. Yes, the mikveh attendant may be helpful to see if there's hair on your back, make sure you didn't miss any nails or something like that, but really it's your responsibility. So what to do? Stand in front of the mirror and look very carefully. Everywhere, from your head, everywhere. It takes a few minutes, it doesn't take hours, If it takes you more than, I wouldn't say how much, maybe more than a few minutes, I probably assume it's more of an anxiety than the hiddur of mikvah. So we can discuss that privately, okay? So wherever you can see visually, make sure you're clean. And wherever you cannot see, you feel and touch and make sure that there's no Chatzitzah anywhere on you. So I say, really, it's a 3-step inspection. First of all, go through the checklist. Not just say eyes, ears, nose, mouth, toes, this. Read every item and think, did I do this? Did I do that? Then, like I said, then in front of the mirror, and then you touch and feel. Now, if you need to use the bathroom once more, a woman cannot toivel if she's holding in. So if you need to use the bathroom once more, which can happen as we wait, or if it's Friday night and you're dreaming and things like that. So yes, you must use the bathroom once more, but make sure to re-wash those areas, wherever toilet paper would be, to make sure there's nothing, no residue of anything there. The cheap toilet paper disintegrates. The real fancy Puff and Charmin leaves those little lint all over the place. So make sure you're clean. Now, let me just tell you that some women have very sensitive bladders. And when they come out of the mikvah water, which is warmer than room temperature, they feel, oh, I must use the bathroom. I must urinate. If you're that type, it's okay, your tefillah is kosher, you didn't hold it in. It's just that sensitive bladder makes you feel, oh, I must run. Okay, so you use the bathroom before. Again, if you want to blow your nose once more, afterwards. And after we complete our Chafifa, if you're doing it at home, let's say you're not at the mikveh building, we do not eat anything. If you need to eat for whatever reason, if you are taking in Shabbos early and in your community, you have to go to the mikveh, of course, when it's dark, which will be after the Shabbos meal. You must discuss with your Rav how to go about this, because really there should be no eating after your Chafifa. We also avoid, let's say you did your Chafifa earlier and you have a time lapse between the Chafifa and the Tefillah, we avoid touching any sticky substance, any oily or fatty or greasy substance, anything that would make it difficult or wouldn't just be removed just from water going on it. And of course, you must remove your lenses at this point because you cannot toivel with lenses in your eyes. And therefore I recommend taking glasses, a pair of glasses to the mikvah, because women have forgotten to take out their lenses. The mikvah attendant cannot see if you're wearing lenses. She doesn't always ask you, did you remove your lenses? And then it becomes problematic. So in that checklist, whoever wrote it definitely does not wear glasses, because the first thing it says is remove your jewelry and remove your glasses. There's no way to do a proper chafifa, you can't see what you're doing. Okay, and if there was an interruption, again, I'm just mentioning this once more to show the importance of it. If there was an interruption between the chafifa and inspection, and then you toiveled later on, or you were at home and now you came to the mikvah, you must repeat that inspection. Okay, that's a must. Now we're going to get to tefillah. We're going to pause. I'm going to read the list of ideas from the women for easy Chatzitzah removal. We will say a story, and then we're going to get to the tefillah. Okay? Olive oil is excellent for house paint or any oil-based paint. It works better than turpentine and will not harm the skin. Okay, we're asking, but these are just tips for Chatzitzah. Questions will be after the shir, okay? I'm taking now only tips for Chatzitzah removal. It also works for sticky stuff such as tar, grease, Band-Aid residue, and even silver marker, okay? Olive oil. So add that to your Chafifa kit, olive oil. Shaving cream and Listerine removes dead skin from the heels. I want to add something. If you have
not tried these tips, these are tips from people, but you haven't tried them yourself.
I didn't try them, but I trust the women that are saying them. Why? They're just making up stories, of course.
I'm just saying, what works for some might
Okay, I want to tell you from the mikveh attendants here in Crown Heights. If you have cracks, nail polish in the cracks of your nails, you get a tablet of Effervent or Polydent, and you let it fizz in the water, and you dip your nails inside, and it kind of removes the nail polish from your cracks. Do not use the nail polish remover that's made that you dip your fingers inside. That creates a bigger mess. Okay. Cut your hair short under the sheitel. That was my nuhachlata. It's so much easier than long hair for mikvah and chafifa. Our custom is that we do have short hair under our sheitel, which definitely makes it much easier, not just for Chatzitzah removal, but also for a kosher tefillah. Hang nails or nails that need to be cut deep for some reason, soak it in the hottest water you can. Stand with a half a cup of peroxide and baking powder stand? Oh, the hottest water that you can stand. Okay, now let's do this again. Hang nails or nails that need to be cut deep for some reason. Soak it in the hottest water that you can stand. And the hottest water should have inside a half a cup of peroxide and baking powder. After 20 minutes, the nails peel off easy as soft skin. Ew, I don't know what it means hang nails that are peeling off, but if you know. Tip, use dental tape. That's a great tip. Dental tape is flat dental floss, not round dental floss. So it goes much better in between teeth that are very close together. It's like floss, but it's wider and flatter. It's easier to use and less likely to get stuck in your teeth. Thank you very much. I find that taking a pre-bath the night before makes actual mikveh prep more relaxing and less stressful, even though you must take another bath. From a dental hygienist, use a floss threader to get under dental work. You know the floss threader? It's like when you have braces, it's like you put it in and you take it out. Okay, go to the pharmacy, get floss threader, you know what we're talking about. Bleeding gums is a sign of inflammation, see your dentist. If you're pregnant and you have bleeding gums, it's a sign of pregnancy. I don't know, maybe the dental hygienist will say if you should go to the dentist anyways. Use a soft toothbrush so you do not damage your gums. Wash your face again after brushing to remove any residue of toothpaste. Okay, sometimes the toothpaste splatters on your face, besides on the mirrors and whoever else. To check if makeup is completely removed, rub a badika cloth over the eye. Actually, I teach college classes, so sometimes there are badika cloths just hanging around my dining room, so we call them glasses wipers. Okay. So to check, so here it is. Rub a badika cloth over the, it usually doesn't happen. I try to, take away the evidence. Rub a badika cloth over the eye. You can see very clearly if makeup is gone. Source, I heard this from a mikveh attendant. Thank you. You are a fantastic audience. Waxing of the lower legs. After waxing, wear black cotton socks, because if there was any wax left on the legs, the wax would look blackish. Great. Because the cotton attaches itself to the wax, it's easy to just rub it off with your fingers. Thank you. Do your monthly breast exam. Okay, the reason I left it out was as follows. The mikvahs used to have cards with demonstration how to do a proper breast exam. And we were taught that every month, at the same time of your cycle, a woman must check their breast to make sure that there's no chas v'shalom, lumps. Better do it once a month for every year of your life and catch nothing than be negligent and chas v'shalom miss something that could have been taken care of earlier. So I asked recently why we don't have it in our mikvah here, and they said that the American Association of Breast Cancer came to the realization that women were not doing it properly. They relied on their own monthly breast exams, but they just following the card, they didn't do it properly, and people missed things that they should have been caught. So now they're recommending a once a year thorough breast exam by a professional. Now you can ask a nurse or a physician's assistant or your midwife to teach you how to do it properly. That would for sure be a good idea. But that is the reason why we were told to be careful when we suggest it, because if you don't know what you're doing, you may rely on it and then not catch what needs to be caught. She's already after the mikvah. Go home looking beautiful. Okay, your husband didn't see you all day when you were dressed up and he only saw you casual cooking clothes. Don't look like a shloch. Go home looking beautiful for yourself and for your husband and for the Eibishter. Okay, she's after the mikvah. Thank you, ladies, for all these tips. If you have any other tips, maybe we can make them available and you could email them in. So we will now just pause for a short story and then we will continue on to Tefillah. And this story, I did not hear from the woman this happened to, but I heard it from the woman that heard it from the woman that it happened to. So I must confess that when I hear it secondhand, sometimes I may forget the exact details. But if the woman who this happened to is listening to this in the audience, please I very much appreciate if you could write out your story. You could remain anonymous so that we can share it with the full proper details. There was a woman who was learning from her Rebbetzin about the beautiful mitzvah of Mikvah. She was getting very excited to begin keeping the special mitzvah. But when she actually was going to begin, finally, her husband got cold feet. And he really didn't show much excitement or interest in playing along. So the Rebbetzin decided, we'll just forget about it for a while, and when the time will be ripe, we'll re-examine this beautiful mitzvah, and we will do it in a way that the husband and wife could both do it b'simcha and together and with shalom. So she kind of forgot about it. A couple months later, her husband, who was the Rav in town, the Rebbetzins husband, so we'll call it the rabbi, gets a phone call from the local mikvah. I have a woman here with a certain type of stitches on her finger. Can she toivel with that kind of stitches? And there's a back and forth. And then her husband, the Rav, rules, he paskins, that this type of stitches is problematic and a woman should not toivel with these type of stitches on her finger. She has to wait till they are removed. Okay, that was in the beginning of the week. Shabbos comes along, and Rebbetzin is in shul, and her woman, who she had tried to convince to use mikvah, walks into shul with stitches on her finger. And she thinks, oh no. This woman finally came to the mikvah, and my husband turned her away because she had stitches on her finger. I wonder what happened, what was the story behind it, what's going on here. Of course, I mean, I wouldn't say the husband turned her away. The halacha said she cannot toivel, obviously. But she felt very bad that this happened. And as she's staring at those stitches, the woman, let's call her Sarah, she says, Rebbetzin, calm down. I see you're staring at my stitches. Let me tell you the story behind these stitches. And there is a story. She took her to the side and she told her as follows. I finally convinced my husband this month that we will keep this mitzvah of Taharas and Hamishpacha, and we cooperated beautifully. And I came to the mikvah, I had no idea that there's a problem with stitches on the finger, and I did all my preparations, and it comes time to immerse, and the mikvah attendant looks at my finger and she says, I think we got a little problem here. And she called the rabbi, and there were some back and forth questions, and then the rabbi rules that I cannot toivel like this. Okay, so I got dressed, and I realized I need to go home. What am I going to do? I'm going to tell my husband we gotta wait. She said, I just sat down on the couch in the waiting room of the mikvah and I just burst out crying. I said, look, what could I do? What should I do? I cannot go home. I cannot not go home. What am I going to tell my husband? And as she poured out her heart to the Eibishter, so she looks out and she sees that a very beautiful limousine drives up and a very well-dressed woman is coming to use the mikvah. And as this well-dressed woman is paying her admission fee, she hears a woman is sobbing in the waiting room. So she turns around and she goes to the waiting room and she says, lady, can I help you? Like, what happened? I see you're in distress. And she just poured out her whole story, how she tried so hard to keep this mitzvah, and finally her husband agreed, and she doesn't know what God is doing to her because she is stuck. So this well-dressed woman says, wow, this is amazing divine providence, hashgacha pratis. I don't live in this city. I come from a totally different city, and my connecting flight was canceled. And tonight's my mikvah night. So we took an airport limousine. We're stopping off at the mikvah. My husband is with me, and then we're going to check into a hotel. I am a plastic surgeon. I have my equipment with me in my suitcase. You see the miracle that her suitcase didn't get lost. She had her suitcases with her. She said, I will remove those stitches. You can toivel. I will stitch them up, and you could go home. So if Eliyahu Hanavi could dress up as a woman, that's what happened. But the moral of the story is that if a woman sincerely wants to do it right, the Eibishter will send angels to help her. That's what I learned. Sometimes we see the angels, sometimes we believe and we know they're angels even though we don't see them. But the Eibishter is right there at our side, helping us do this beautiful mitzvah. Okay, so now we're ready to toivel. So remember, we are completely cleaned and inspected. We're standing in our robe or towels, and we're ready to toivel. When do we toivel? A mikvah is open every day of the year except for two. The night of Yom Kippur and the night of Tisha B'Av, it is forbidden to toivel, and therefore the mikvah is closed. All those women will immerse Mitzvah Yom Kippur and Mitzvah Tisha B'Av. We do not toivel the night of Tisha B'Av. We do not toivel the night of Yom Kippur. If the husband or the wife is sitting shiva, relations are forbidden, and tefillah is delayed. If your husband is sitting shiva and you are not, and you may want to ask a rav when exactly you should toivel if the night that he will be available, it doesn't work out for you to toivel at that time or in that place, okay? If it's a night, that's if your husband is sitting shiva, not you. If you are sitting shiva, obviously you're not toiveling. If it's a night that you're expecting your period according to the halacha calculations when relations are forbidden, so I guess you will toivel after that night passes and the next night. We discussed last time about the importance of going to the mikvah on time, and tevilah takes place at night. If you cannot toivel tonight is the night of your 8th day, you have to toivel tomorrow night. If circumstances make it impossible to toivel at night for whatever reason, or if you have a special circumstance, you ask a rav if you're allowed to toivel during the daytime of the 8th day or the 9th or the 10th, but you must ask a rav how to go about it. You cannot just do it. Where do we toivel? We toivel in a mikvah. And as Chabad, of course, our preference is always to toivel in a mikvah, Chabad mikvah that's built according to the Rebbe Rashab's instructions. If you normally use a Chabad mikvah, you drive there, but there is a non-Chabad mikvah within walking distance. Friday night, you toivel in the non-Chabad mikvah. That was Reb Zalman Shimon's psak. I know to us personally when we went on shlichus and we had that situation. So that's how he paskined. If your rav says differently, ask your own rav. If you're traveling to remote places and you want to use a mikvah wherever they may be, there are mikvahs all around the world. Again, mikvah.org has a good listing. However, please investigate before who the supervising rav is. Just because a mikvah was built, it doesn't mean it's maintained according to halacha. And also, be sure when you make your inquiries to let them know what your level of hiddur in mitzvah you do. I know there are some mikvahs that are in certain cities, but if somebody wants to do it in a better way, they travel a little distance. So if you're just doing an email inquiry where the mikvah is, be sure to say, is that the best mikvah? Is that the one that the Rebbetzin would use, and so on and so forth, because there were some misunderstandings that happened recently where people did not make that clear. If you ever want to toivel in a lake, in a river, or an ocean, you must ask a shaila before. Not every lake is kosher for tefillah. Not every lake is kosher for tefillah. I'm serious. People made mistakes, big mistakes. And even toivel in the ocean, which is the biggest mikvah, there's a way to toivel in the ocean. For example, who's going to watch how you toivel? How is it light? Could somebody see if your hair is under the water? What are you standing on? The mud, the rocks? Are people going to watch you? Are you afraid that maybe people can see you? So there are different shilas that come up when toiveling not in a mikvah that's supervised by a rav, so you must ask a shaila before. Obviously, you have to toivel in a place where you know people won't see you, because then you could do your mitzvah calmly and with the thought and the attention and not rushed. It's not like, oh, I'm afraid someone's going to see me, let me dunk and run away. And for that, I want to say as a side note, a mikvah is a very private place. A building is for women. Husbands are gracious. They drive women to mikvah or they pick them up. So great for husbands. But please tell your husband, he should not be hanging around the entrance of the mikvah or not facing the entrance of the mikvah. If he's in the car, let him face the other way of the parking lot or around the corner or down the block. You could text him, he'll come pick you up. It's just very uncomfortable and very not sneeze when the men are there where the women should be in their most private time. And some husbands need to be told, okay? Or if here in Crown Heights it's Friday night, your husband does not have to walk up Albany down Union Street to go to 770. You know, your husband, I don't know about your boys, I don't know if you have to tell boys, I don't know. But at least the grown men, they know what women do there. Just be more respectful and accommodating for women who want to keep and need to keep and should keep privacy in going to mikvah. So you need a proper place to toivel. You also need a God-fearing woman, an adult woman, to supervise your tevilah. If you're ever in a situation where you do not have a God-fearing adult woman, Jewish woman, to supervise your tevilah, ask a Rav what to do. Our custom is, the Rebbe mentioned, about giving tzedakah in connection with tevilah. And when mikvahs were built, the Rebbe mentioned that there should be a tzedakah box in the room before the mikvah room, the actual mikvah room. So usually on the way into the building, there's a tzedakah box, or if you didn't do it before tevilah, on the way out. Obviously, if it's Shabbos or Yom Tov, you'll give extra tzedakah before lichbenchen in connection with the mitzvah of tevilah. So now we are ready to toivel. How do we do this? So first, we go down the stairs, and the mikvah water should be about 12 inches above your navel, because if it's lower than that amount, you would need to crouch, and then your body wouldn't have the water surrounding it in the way that is preferable. 12 inches, let's say, above your navel, okay? If the water's too deep and you have to stand on your tippy toes, just the platform, just that's right above the floor of the mikvah. Usually there's steps down, a platform, and then the floor. You could stand on that platform if you feel more comfortable that way because you're short. You're standing on the floor of the mikvah, not on a mat. Mikvahs nowadays don't have that, but your feet are touching the actual floor. So you went down to the water is like 12 inches above your navel, and now that you're standing in the mikvah, this is the procedure. Okay, I will say the procedure and then we'll discuss each one separately. The custom is, number 1, you wet yourself. 2, toivel. 3, say the bracha. 4, toivel more. And 5, tefillah, as in davening. Tafeh yud lamed hey. So again, wet yourself, toivel, bracha, toivel more, and davening. That's our customary order. So wetting yourself. You go into the mikvah, you crouch till the water's up to your neck, lean a little forward, and you stretch out your arms so the water can go under your arms. You stretch your legs apart so the water can go between your thighs, right? You loosen your, fingers everywhere. You put some water over, it says like over your eyes, over your face. So we begin by being wet. This is especially important like on a Friday night where we're not wet anymore from our Chafifa. Okay? Or in the night of a Yom Tov. Okay? So number 1, our folds all over our body are wet. And our skin is wet, under our chin, all wet. So now we wet ourselves. Now we toivel. Every tefillah that you do needs to be kosher. So we'll start with the first one. What is a kosher tevilah? There are 2 positions in how a woman normally can toivel. We have the standard position, and then we have the unique Chabad way of toiveling. So first we will describe the standard position, and then we'll move on to the unique Chabad position. So you stand in the water, and I don't know if I should hold the mic and move so I could show you a little bit, but I need my hands. So let's see. You stand in the water, okay? You lean forward till your breasts are not touching your skin anymore, okay? You separate your arms in a loose fashion and your fingers so the water can get under your arms. Your elbows aren't folded too much, They're just so the water can get between the folds of your elbows. Your fingers are loose. Your feet, you spread apart as if you're walking. You're not like making a split, but just spread apart a little bit so the water could get between your thighs, between, the legs under your thighs, okay? Your eyes are slightly closed, comfortably closed, not tight. Let's try that. Good night, sweet dreams, okay? Your lips, again, your teeth aren't your teeth are just relaxed. Your lips are not pursed together, they're just gently closed. Make sure that no hair enters between your lips. If hair goes in your mouth like this, your tefillah is not kosher and the mikvah attendant will not know. And that's why many Yerushalayim women will have hair that's shorter than can enter between their lips. Okay, so in that position, leaning forward slightly with your hands and feet slightly apart, you will crouch down till the water completely covers you. The mikvah attendants are begging you, don't be scared, crouch lower. Don't just do a little dip, not gonna work. Crouch lower. Now we are going to pay attention to our hair. What happens is, especially for the first tevilah, when you go down, your hair that's not sopping wet, what will happen? It can float up, which is another reason why Chabad custom is to have very short hair. It enables a kosher tevilah easily. So if you do have longer hair, there are two ways that you can do this. Either, I'll say Mrs. Levertov prefers this way, that after you crouch down, I don't know how to do this with the mic. Once you're crouched. Okay, we'll do it here.
So don't worry about the microphone. The audience here can hear you, and the one on your shirt is the one that they can hear for.
Sorry, I was wrapped in this.
Recording.
Okay, so when you crouch down, okay, once you're down, she says, Ze chalifasi. I say swipe, right? Because that's our language, okay? So after you crouch down, you quickly wave your hand to make sure your hair is not up, but it's under the water. Go back in the right position, and you come back up. Alternatively, other mikvah attendants prefer, and this was also checked by a rav that it's okay, is you would take your hair up in a pony-like fashion. That means one hand you have in the right position, so the other one you're holding up your hair, that it's off your back, okay? It's not against your back, it's off your back. You hold it to the side, and once you're under the water, you let go, and the hair is going to float up, okay? You cannot hold your nose when you tovel, but I'll tell you a little secret. If you blow out little bubbles, the water won't go into your nose, okay? So if you're that type that gets afraid that whatever, so before you tovel, take a deep breath, and as you go down, you gently blow. You see your lips are together. You're not, okay? Practice, okay? Gently, you can blow those bubbles, and you'll have a comfortable tefillah, okay? That is the way of standard. We need to know this because I'll tell you why. Chabad mikvahs, because there's a Chabad custom to tovel differently, many of them are built larger to accommodate even very tall women to tovel in the horizontal, how do you call this? Horizontal position, like a fish. It's called underwater dead man's float. There are also many Chabad mikvahs that are small. And I beg you, Chabad Rebbetzins that are building mikvahs, if we want to do our mitzvah behidr according to Chabad, so just like kosher food costs extra, and yes, the larger mikvahs, it will cost more money to heat all that extra water. But you know something? We could accommodate even tall women to do the fish float in the best way possible. Let's invest in hidr around and around. But if you happen to be in a mikvah that's a non-Chabad mikvah, it's perfectly 100% kosher. You can have a 100% perfect kosher tevilah the standard way. Except when you began your mikvah experience, you should have been taught that we try to do the Chabad way. It's a hiddur, but you take it in your mind, bli neder, or you say it, that if I cannot tevel that way for whatever reason, I will tevel the standard way, and it's perfectly kosher for me. If you've only done the Chabad way, and you've never had in mind anything different, you may need to ask your rabbi, your Rav, about if you're in a situation where you cannot do it in the way of hiddur, to do it the regular way if it's okay for you, or what you need to do in order to allow that to happen. Okay? How do we do the dead man's float underwater? Again, you have to have enough room in your mikvah. If you have a small mikvah, your hands and feet won't be spread apart wide enough, and then your tefillah will be problematic, because if you have your hands, even if you're spread out, but if you're crouched like this, together, it won't work. So you need that plenty of room that you hold on to something, and especially if you have longer hair, you have to go really low. As long as your hair is tall, that's how deep you should go under the water, especially for the first tevilah. Otherwise, the hair will float on top. So you hold on to the sides or the step. It depends on the how the mikvah is built, and you crouch down and you thrust yourself forward till your hands are apart, fingers too. You're not like this. You're not with clenched fists. Open fingers, and your feet are like that upside down V, so the water gets between your legs also. Totally under the water. Yay. Okay, so you're totally under the water. For one split second, your entire body has to be surrounded by water. If you're in the standing position, you do not have to jump off the floor. There's no way the soles of your feet are not wet from the mikvah water. Okay, so you stand gently. In fact, if you're going to jump up and crouch down at the same time, because you want to have your hair under the water and your feet off the floor, in the standing position, you can end up being like a ball, and that won't be a kosher tevilah either. Okay, when you're under the water, and as you come up, the mikveh attendant will say, good. If you're ever a mikveh attendant, that word is a holy word. When she says kosher down here, Lamayla in the heavenly spheres, the angels are saying kosher. So it's not just a kosher. Could you imagine when you are toveling, the malachim, our choir, are saying kosher for this woman, and it says fine children are merited from the voices of the malachim saying kosher. So you toveled once. The next step is bracha. How do we say the bracha? So again, our custom is we cover our hair with the kerchief or whatever is being provided by the mikveh attendant. The Rabbanim here have advised us that if you do have long hair, do not pull up your hair and try to make a pony and put it under a tichel to say a bracha. That will make tangles and loose hairs. Just put the kerchief over your head. Of course, if you have short hair, it's even better, because then your hair could be completely covered without interfering. So you cover your hair, you crouch till the water is up to your neck, so you're basically under the water, and you put on a gartel. What do I mean by a gartel? You have to make with your hands a separation between your heart, and I used to say, where do you klap hashamno? But now where does the baby hear the heartbeat? Sounds better, right? Between your heart and the lower part of your body, which means you have your hand, you hug your chest. You have your hand against your skin, right? The idea is not that you're covering your breast, okay? That's not the point. The point is you have to make a separation between your heart and the lower part of your body. So one hand, it's against your body. Now you could go like this, One hand is against your skin, okay? Now it doesn't matter how high or low, you know where your heart is. It's under your heart, against your body. making a separation between your heart and the lower part of your body. So you're crouching under the water, not under the water, up to your chin, leaning right. Your hair is covered, you're hugging your chest, and you don't look at your skin that's undressed, because you don't say a bracha Hashem's name facing undressed naked skin. And you say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu. 2 words, al hatvila. If you're saying 3 words, it's the wrong bracha. 2 words, al hatvila. You take the hair covering, you put it back to the side. I just want to mention over here that there's some Sephardim maybe that are watching this. Sephardim do have a different custom. If you're ever a shemeres for a woman who's Sephardi, their custom would be to say the bracha when they're in the robe before they even go into the mikvah. Some Sephardim do have that custom, so respect that. Or if that's what you've been taught, of course, it's also a custom by those communities. You put the head covering back, and now we toivel. Our custom is, most Yidden will toivel 1 more time after the bracha. And there should be no interruption of small talk between the first tefillah, the bracha, and the last tefillah. It's all one process without a hefsek of like small talk or interruptions, which we shouldn't be doing anyways when we toivel. We're concentrating on the beauty of the mitzvah. Our custom is 3 tefillahs in total. That means 1 before the bracha and 2 after. That's what Reb Zalman Shimon said is the Chabad custom. There are family customs that you may have from your mother to toivel more times. That means we do 1 before the bracha. You may be doing 6 after the bracha for a total of 7. Some people do 9, 10, 13, 18, whatever it may be. There are different customs from different families, from different large Chabad families that they heard from their grandmothers in Russia and so on and so forth. So if you have a certain amount of immersions, of tefillahs that you customarily do, and for some reason you cannot do them right now because you have a difficult situation, makes it difficult for you to toivel, you need to ask a Rav what to do. Because if you've always been doing it a certain way, it becomes problematic to all of a sudden do it differently. But if you started your marriage by saying, I will try to take my mother's custom by toiveling those extra times, and if it ever should happen that I would not be able to, it will be sufficient to toivel the minimum, then that's fine. The minimum would be 1 before the bracha and 1 after. Customary, we do the third one, which is 2 after the bracha. And again, you can do as many as you need to, but every single one that you do must be kosher. It's not like, let me do a bunch in case one will be good. It means every single one should be kosher, and just it's important to let your mikvah attendant know how many tefillahs you do so she can actually anticipate and supervise and know that, look, how many more? She needs to know what you're doing. After you've finished your tefillahs, then there's a custom by some women to daven. Many do it inside the mikvah water itself. If you're using Hashem's name, like you're saying, if that's what your mother taught you, then because you're using Hashem's name, certainly it's with the same respect like when you're saying the bracha, like the head covering, the folding of the arms, and under the water. And if you're just meditating and asking Hashem from the depth of your heart, without using words, you don't necessarily need that covering. Others have a custom that this davening is not necessarily in the pool of the mikvah water, but in connection with the mikvah experience. As long as you didn't make an interruption, you could daven to the Eibishter from your heart, wherever it may be. I know some Rabbanim are saying that as well, because when I did the research for what I need to teach, so there's room for different customs when it comes to the davening, but definitely, like the Friedrich Rebbe wrote in Likutei Diburim, that the custom that women daven from their heart to the Eibishter when they do the Shabbos candle lighting and when they do a fresh challah and when they toivel in the mikvah, the Friedrich Rebbe ends off, Minig Yisrael Torah. This minig is Torah. So definitely we have a makar from the Friedrich Rebbe about the importance of using, just like when we bench shlicht, we daven to the Eibishter, and we feel that deep connection to the Eibishter, and by a fresh challah, so too in connection with Tefillah in the mikvah. When we come out of the mikvah, so the first thing that we see should be something holy, like a Jewish woman. And therefore, the mikvah attendant is doing a great service to us by giving us the opportunity that the first visual contact and physical contact that we have, that's our custom also, that she should touch you or shake your hand. You could be in a towel or a robe, she doesn't have to touch your skin, but the idea is that you see, and there's some touch as well, is from the Jewish woman. And after that, even if you met something unholy, because that first initial touch and sight was this holy image, so the rest doesn't matter. I do want to add here that the Rebbe writes in a Sicha Chaf Cheshvan Tashmem Dalet, in a footnote, I think it's in the footnote, and maybe not, you could check it up yourself, Chaf Cheshvan Tashmem Dalet. It's about the Sicha, about the importance of showing Jewish children, even from the moment of birth, only kosher and holy images. And there the Rebbe brings this halacha that it says in Shulchan Aruch that the custom is that when women come out of the mikvah, the first thing they see is something holy. The Rebbe writes that noshim tzidkoniyos, in addition to when you come out of the water, when they go out of the mikvah building, the first image they see should also be a holy image. So in small mikvahs, the mikvah attendant could tell you goodbye at the door, but in the large mikvahs, this is not practical. So you can have, that's why there's a picture of the Rebbe on the way out. So you could have that image in your head as you go out, or if you want to take a longer picture of the Rebbe, or like it says in this halacha, that if you don't have a woman greeting you, if you have an image of your husband in your mind, or any holy tzaddik in your mind, if you visualize it, that's also good. So when you come out of the mikvah, you greet her, you touch her, you go to the room. We do not bathe or take a total body shower following mikvah. Until when, there are different opinions. There are some opinions that will allow this, that if you feel a need to bathe or shower, you can do this as soon as you, let's say, touch your husband, or you show clearly that you are not tamei anymore, that you don't need to keep the dinim of harchaka anymore. So even a touch would suffice, and if you need a shower after, you can. There's those that say, no, you should not take a bath or a shower, a total bath or shower, until you've been with your husband, or till the next morning, or even other opinions. There's also the idea that it means a total body shower or bath. That means if you need to wash parts of your body, that would be okay. So in this particular situation, consult with your own Rav what his ruling is. When you come out of the mikvah and you come and as you're dressing yourself in the room, you may notice perhaps that there was a Chatzitzah that you overlooked, which if you would have inspected yourself properly, chances are maybe it wouldn't happen, but sometimes maybe there's poor lighting in the room or you're quick. So because you're right there in the mikvah, you go right back and you toivel again. Don't worry about the mikvah attendant. She's there to service you, and it'll make you feel better, and halachically sometimes it's even necessary to toivel once more. If you're right there in the building, if you want, you could ask a Rav. It might be quicker to just go again, you're right there. Once you come home, then for sure you would need to get a Rav involved, especially if it's after the mikveh hours are closed, or if you have to travel. Some things, l'chatchila, of course we want to remove, but does it require a repeat tefillah? It's very individual. And there you have Chabad Rabbanim all around the world. Australia is how many hours ahead? Eretz Yisrael, London, California is 3 hours behind. So you have round-the-clock Rabbanim, so that Chas v'Shalom shouldn't delay a mitzvah, but you cannot, if you have a question, obviously, you cannot, you must be careful with maintaining the right rules between you and your husband until you ascertain that your status, in fact, is tahar. Okay? If you're the type of woman that you always find something on you when you come home from the mikvah, then again, this may be anxiety related, not hid or mitzvah related, and this also requires consultation with a kala teacher, a mikvah attendant, to ascertain why this is happening. And in fact, I think the Ramban writes so beautifully that a woman shouldn't question herself. If she did her preparation properly, inspected her body properly, and she toiveled, she shouldn't think maybe I clenched my hands when I was toiveling, maybe not, or closed my eyes too tight. She should have betochen that she did her best and the Eibishter is benched her and her tefillah is kosher. I forgot to mention that if you're in the mikvah, you shouldn't lean against the wall or hold on to the sides if you're doing the tefillah like a fish. Okay, you shouldn't be leaning against it or pressing against it. If your hand happened to brush by the wall, that's not a problem. If there's like a little brush against the wall, but no pressure or leaning on the wall or on the bars. If you need assistance, and I could tell you a story about that to make you laugh, maybe soon. If you need assistance in tefillah, so there's a special way that someone could assist you to toivel with holding you, and that should be ascertained with a rov before. Afterwards, you wash nagelwasser, seisha yotzar, you exit the building looking at a holy image first. Halacha is that you must verbalize your change of status to your husband. A text is not enough. You have to say with words that you're tahar. You could say, I toiveled, tavalti. He could ask, did you toivel? And what do you say? My dear, after you could say. And another little tip is that you've just done a hefsek Tahara and counted 7 clean days. If you had not yet recorded in your calendar your hefsek Tahara, now's the time to do it, because you may forget a couple days later if you had a shayla and you had to repeat the count, what happened, what didn't happen. So make sure that your calendar, you have already put inside your calendar your accurate hefsek Tahara. Till here, I hope, is the laws of Chafifa, Chatzitzah, and Tevilah. Of course, we will not mention in public the laws and the customs or proper conduct of husband-wife during the mitzvah that follows mikvah. It's like the books talk a lot about the nida time, but it's important for every husband and wife. You can look in the Code of Jewish Law, it's in any language, it's Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, it's called Hilchos Tznius. You're not going to find how long how your elbows have to be covered and your feet have to be covered. This is Hilchos Tznius, is the laws of the private time between husband and wife. In Rabbi Fischel Jacob's book, Family Purity, he also has a chapter about the rules, I don't want to say the rules, the guidelines for proper conduct during the time of this most beautiful mitzvah. If there's anything in those chapters that you find is something that you have not been doing or doesn't sit right with you, discuss with your Rav how it applies to your personal life. Okay? As it's important to review the dinim of nida time, important to review. Just recently I had a situation where a woman was having a very hard time. It wasn't her hard time, but her husband was having a very hard time with the physical side of marriage. Things were not going well. She was getting very desperate. And then she happened to review the rules of the bedroom, and there was one little detail that they overlooked, they didn't realize. And the first night that she did it properly, her husband was completely 100% performing beautifully without any intervention whatsoever. And she asked me to repeat that story because for her it was like miraculous. So you never know which little detail will bring the bracha in your life. And now we will pause and take questions from the audience. If there are any questions, please pass them up in writing. Okay, an announcement, and then, well, if we have time, we'll have a story. Whoa, it's so late. Yeah.
Hi. We honor this session with birthday wishes for Shlomo HaKohen Ben Liba Michla. We wish him happy birthday with his wife and his family together, with Mazel and Bracha and all the brachas from Al to Tov. Also, in addition, we want to take this moment because we learned Torah. This is a Hasidic Havbrengen, and we mentioned before what is done through a Hasidic Havbrengen Malch Mechal Kein Tuftan. So we ask to pause for a moment. Each one should think what bracha he wants, to mouth it quietly or to say it out loud. The radio audience, the internet audience, and just think for a moment whatever you want, any bracha you want, and then we'll answer Amen all together. While you're thinking everything or saying it, we ask that Hashem should bench us all with brachas, with good marriages, families, and nachas from our children, and nachas from each other. Amen. Amen.
Okay. How long does one bathe for? As long as it takes you to get clean. If you were taught something different and that's what you've been practicing, ask your Rav what you need to do from now on. We discussed last time a kind of rough amount of time that the total Chafifa should take, which includes, besides the bath, the cutting of the nails, the brushing of the teeth, the removal of nail polish and makeup, the bathing, the combing of the hair, the inspection afterwards. Altogether should take roughly, if you start before Shkia, before sunset, into nightfall, it's roughly 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Some people take a little longer, some people do it a little quicker. If you've done stuff earlier in the day, you could cut time from that. That is the rough halachic estimate of the total chafifa from beginning to end. Do you bathe with soap in the water or in clean water? Whatever gets you clean, I think would be the answer. I don't know of anything different. Just if you are sitting in soapy water, just make sure that you have to rinse yourself. You rinse yourself very well afterwards in the shower. If you inspect it on Shabbos and you find a hang nail or the like, it is problematic. You'll have to speak to the Mikvah attendant, who either will have some experience in this field, of course trained by a Rav, or will walk you to the Rav's house, or you may have to wait till Motzei Shabbos if you are living in a place that you cannot walk to the Rav's house, or you don't have a Rav, and you cannot ascertain the halacha any other way. If you have fungus, it's a skin condition, and it's one of the things I mentioned that you should discuss with your Rav before. Peeling the skin often will cause further peeling of the skin and cracking and bleeding, which is not what we want to do in preparation for mikvah, but how much of that skin needs to be rubbed off, you ask your Rav a shaila. If you've done a pedicure on the mikvah day and they've done moisturizers, again, as long as those moisturizers, they don't last forever, by the way. As long as if you soak in a tub, the warm water will definitely wash away a lot of the moisturizer, and you have to make sure it's completely washed away before you taivel, which I don't think is something so hard to do. But if for you, they put such moisturizer that you cannot get it off, you tell the lady you'll save her some money and she'll put less moisturizer. Okay, you have to be very careful when it comes with eye makeup. Sometimes it is very difficult to remove all the mascara, the eyeliner. So why don't you try this out not on your mikvah day? Okay, when you have your period. Okay, have fun. Put on your eyeliner, put on your mascara, and see what it takes to get it off. How many Q-tips, how many cotton balls, invest in expensive eye makeup remover. That just might make the whole difference. But as long as you keep finding little black dots that keep coming off from the corners, you just have to keep going, because it looks like there's more residue that really needs to be removed. Do you must file your nails? Well, it depends how you cut them. If the main thing is that the nails have to be smooth, just go like this with one finger, one nail against the other nail, and if they're smooth, there's no sharp edges and no splits of the nail, then it's fine. but it's a good advice to file them like this, you know that they are smooth. Do you floss first or brush first? Whichever one will get your teeth clean, and rinse your mouth afterwards. What if you feel if the mikvah attendant is too lenient? It's not the mikvah attendant's responsibility to check you. It's your responsibility to check yourself. This is a little different than years bygone when the mikvah was darker, mirrors weren't available, people didn't have glasses, but nowadays you are required, and it's your obligation to check yourself totally. You can ask her for help, and she'll gladly help you. But if you don't ask for her help, she doesn't need, that's not her job. She will, yes, check your back to make sure it's clean. She will check your nails and your toenails to make sure that none was skipped over, because she does not want to get a phone call 2 o'clock in the morning. I just realized one of my nails isn't cut. Could you please open up for me? You understand? Some mikvah attendants do check your body more than others. You get to know your mikvah attendant and you work together with her. If you've been doing a certain number of tefillos because that's where you were taught, and you want to change that, you have to speak to your Rav first how to go about it. Okay, we discussed this before, but now it's written in fancy language. The nail bed where it meets the skin. That's what we refer to, that you should use some tool to clean the edges, the sides of the nails and underneath the nails, especially by your toenails, especially the big ones, where dirt could hide in the sides and in the nails underneath. By the side in the front, I'm not showing you my toenails, but this was my toenail. So the sides over here, there's a how do you call it? It's deep between the edge of the nail, right, and the skin. Sometimes dirt gets stuck there, and also the edges of the nails behind. Make sure that you use something to take out the dirt. If you have a little black fungus nail, if you take bleach with a Q-tip and you rub it against the nail, it'll remove any residue of the brown or black fungus that sometimes grows at the edge of a nail. We don't talk from the first tevilah till after the last tevilah, unless, of course, you have a question that pertains to the tevilah. Of course, you ask, I think I touched the wall, I want to tevel again. Or I think some hair went into my mouth, I want to tevel extra tevilah. You know, you say what you need, unless you think she will understand your motions and how you call it, pantomime, not mime, what's that word? Yeah? Pantomime. Okay? If the mikvah lady starts talking to you, should you answer? A smile is always the best. That's my own personal opinion, but you can discuss with her after. You know, mikvah attendants are wonderful, wonderful people. But if you have a suggestion, she'll gladly hear it. You could ask her, I thought I learned in college classes that we're not supposed to talk till after we finish teveling. And when you told me Mazel Tov on my son's bar mitzvah, in between the tefillahs, I felt a little uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. You know, you could ask her. They're special people, and they really want to make it better for you. Is it a time? I think that's what the question was referring to. If it's something else, you could ask your Rav. You don't specifically must keep your feet on the floor. If it's easier for you to tevel, if you lift your feet a little bit off the floor. But you must be careful that if you jump up and then you want to crouch down to make sure your hair is totally submerged under the water, that you don't land up being too squished. If you were taught as a kala to do some standard dips and some as a fish or in a different variations and numbers, ask your Rav if you want to do anything differently from now on. Ask your Rav how to go about it. Any question of the amount of hair removal that you need to remove before you individually go to the mikvah, You should ask your own shaila individually. This is very personal. Some women are more careful with hair removal than others, or certain times in their life they're more careful than others. And please ask your own Rav, and the answer is for you, not for your sister, not for your friend. In the Crown Heights Mikvah, there is a pushka on the way in at the receptionist desk and another pushka on the way out. The Rebbe mentioned to give tzedakah in connection with tevilah. The Rebbe did say to have a pushka in the room that's before the mikvah room, and I don't think that means the hallway or the bathroom. So obviously on the way in you could give tzedakah, on the way out, whichever one. The tzedakah is always welcome. It's always a mitzvah. And if you give it before you leave the house, if it's Erev Shabbos, or if you forgot when you come home, I don't think the tzedakah exactly is the biggest issue. But if there's a question, you could ask your Rav. If you need a shaver with moisture strips, of course the moisture will very quickly, I don't know, maybe new kind of shavers are created, but the regular shavers with moisture strips, they don't really moisturize your skin. They just make it a little more, I'd say greasy, lubricated, so it's easy, so that your dry skin won't get any nicks or cracks. So then afterwards, you're anyways going to wash your legs afterwards. There should be no little hair on it. So with soap and water, you can wash your legs very well. If you're never particular with the skin under your legs, as long as it's soft when it's wet and it does not have any flaps or cracks, it should be fine. So check with your Rav just in case. Yes, after, more? Wow, I didn't know. Suggestion in many mikvahs on the way out there are taffy, candy, munchy, crunchy. I mean, obviously it's like, I don't know if everybody wants to stick their hands in the same bowl, so wrapped stuff probably people feel better about. But there is a concept, especially if you're one of those anxious people, just get a Chatzitzah on you right away, and then it's behind you, and move on to the next phase in life. I think in some mikvahs in the olden days, somebody told me this, I don't know what the source is, that they used to have dirt on the way out, just get dirt all over you and just go home. Is it okay if you opened your eyes by mistake in the mikvah? I just read about this today. I don't know what the answer is. So hopefully that will be posted, or you could ask your Rav. You can verbalize your change of status over the phone. In the phone, you could say "I toiveld." It doesn't have to be like a aid, a witness, a legal halachic witness. It has to be your word of mouth. But we asked this shaila actually, and the Rav said yes, you could do it over the phone. Do you have to use a special soap and shampoo if you're bathing or showering at home and repeating in the mikvah? You have to know if there's any residue, of any moisturizer that's left over your skin. You have to know your body. If you repeat the shower in the mikvah, if all that residue is going to be removed from all the folds of your body. So there's not one right or wrong answer. The answer is you have to make sure that before you toivel, you have no moisturizer that's a residue over your skin. Toiveling like a fish, does it have to be exactly straight, or could it be a little bit in a curve? I don't think it has to be exactly on a, how do you call this? How much angle? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I was never asked that before, so I think a Rav should answer it. But I think the idea is just like it means, instead of standing and crouching, you're in this position. You understand? You're totally lifted off the floor and hands and feet spread apart. Okay, cleaning your nose. Of course, the outside of the nose is the same rules like your skin. If you have a scab or something on the outside of your nose or dried mucus, of course it has to be cleaned. just like anywhere else on your skin. When I talked about inside the nose, just the wide parts is what you're looking for, not all the way up in the narrow canal. Okay? Pardon?
I said they don't have to go into your brain.
Right. Mint floss, I don't know, I'm not sure about this, but I think the taste is not the issue. The issue is more if it leaves a residue. But I don't know if is mint kosher, I don't even know. So about mint floss, ask your Rav. That I don't know about that. The books that talk about intimacy, the guidelines is in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, Hilchos Tznius, the laws of modesty that you're going to find either before or after the laws of Taharas and Hamishpacha, or marriage, somewhere in that section. And that's the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. I don't think you have to go to the big fat one. I could tell you where to find it, but I think this is simple enough. And in Rabbi Fischel Jacob's book, Family Purity, besides the rules of Mikvah and Nida, he also has a chapter or two about the guidelines of intimacy. If there are cleaning ladies in the mikvah that you don't want to see because you want to make sure that not only when you come out of the mikvah water and come out of the mikvah building, but all the way through and through, you don't bump into a non-Jew, you can request, they do this here in Crown Heights all the time, you can request upon leaving, could you please ask the cleaning lady to go behind the curtain, and they do that for you. But halachically, once you came out of the mikvah water, if you first saw the mikvah attendant, it doesn't matter afterwards if you see the cleaning lady who's non-Jewish. And so too, when you walked out of the building, the first thing you saw was something holy. Don't walk out blindfolded. Don't walk with your eyes on the floor if you're going to trip and fall. Just go home. And of course, it's not like a little child who, is the day that he's going to the cheder and you wrap him in a talis because he shouldn't see anything. Okay, but you're not going to focus on unholy images or unholy things. You're not going to steer or focus. Go about your business and go home. If you want to be more careful than that, of course, you could ask your Rav and ask your Mashpia how far to go. If you usually don't talk from the first tefillah until after getting dressed, because that's your custom, and the mikvah attendant gives you a bracha, you're allowed to say Amen. I know years ago I learned about not talking until a woman is dressed, because the reason I was given, and it may not be accurate, so the Rav will have to research this, was because not so long ago, like even in Europe, the mikvahs were in the public bathhouses, right? So it wasn't that everybody had a private bathroom and a private changing room. After you toiveled, he sat around and got dressed. So it's not proper to socialize before you're dressed. Get dressed and then go about socializing. And that's why they were taught, don't start socializing until you put on three garments, so that you're considered already dressed, and then you could start your socializing. That was the way of life then. That's what I was taught. It could be I was totally misinformed. So the idea of not talking until you're dressed, not till after the tefillahs are over, ask your Rav about it, or maybe we'll get clarification from Rabbi Chaikin and how that applies today, and until what point you shouldn't be talking. Okay, she writes that she learned that you don't talk until you wash negelwasser. That means on the way out of the building you have to wash negelwasser, and then you could start talking. So I'm not sure about these different things that are taught, and I guess we can clarify that for the next class. Okay, suppose your mikvah attendant, when you came out of the mikvah and you asked the mikvah attendant to retoivel, and the mikvah attendant said, it's fine, don't retoivel. The mikvah attendant is not a Rav. You have right is the wrong word to use, but it's your responsibility that you're toiveling properly. So if you question her advice, you can say, I'm here in the mikvah building, could you please just, for my reassurance, can you please just ask the Rav? Every mikvah has a Rav available on call. And please, just for my good feeling, just reassure me, I'd like to hear straight from the Rav that I don't have to repeat the tefillah. In this particular woman's situation, she came home and the Rav asked her to read Toivel, and that was very uncomfortable. I would definitely bring that up with a mikvah attendant. And it also depends what you asked the mikvah attendant and what you told the Rav. In the defense of the mikvah attendants, yes, mikvah attendants are not rabbanim, but sometimes maybe they don't see the whole picture, and a Chatzitzah for one may not be a Chatzitzah for another. Depends what it is and what was done, etc. So you should definitely bring it back up with the mikvah attendant. And if you're still in the building, she should reassure you that you called the Rav or she called the Rav and he said it's fine. Tipping the mikvah lady is not a halachic issue. You could ask the mikvah that you attend what the policy is. Can greeting and touching the mikvah lady be in the waiting room, or does she have to wait by the mikvah pool? The answer to that is, it says when she comes out of the water. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. What is she going to meet from when she comes out of the water until the waiting room? I'm not sure, but that's the tradition. Now, you don't have to be undressed. You can put on your robe and your towel, and then she can look at you and she can greet you. She can wait. She can turn around and wait a minute or two, or sometimes the mikvah attendant holds up the robe or the towel, and then she turns around, so she kind of embraces you, and then you know, so it could be done in a more comfortable and discreet way. But you could discuss that with your mikvah attendant if it's something that you feel more comfortable with. When you toivel again, because you found the Chatzitzah, most often you do not repeat the bracha. But this is something that if the mikvah attendant does not know, you will not be asked to repeat the bracha in case, we don't make a bracha extra for nothing. You understand? Unless your Rav tells you to make a bracha, usually the bracha is not repeated. I guess it is a halacha review, and of course I always love to tell stories, but this is stretching for a very long time. So Immersion Hashem, maybe totally another time we'll have bedtime stories. But for tonight, a good Tanakh, and the Eibusher should bench all of you.
Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you Sarah for a wonderful shir. And we look forward to seeing you again in Immersion Hashem on Monday, same time, same station, for the final session of our 6-part review series. Good night.